Multiplication can get a little interesting. So unlike addition and subtraction, which are pretty intuitive, you just simply use the appropriate symbols and it functions just like addition and subtraction in your other math classes, multiplication is a little bit different. Anytime you multiply any two quantities together, whether that's a number by a variable or two variables, whatever that might be, there must be an asterisk between the two values to tell the computer that it wants those two values multiplied together. So again, I still have x and y from up here. In your algebra classes, you might be used to shorthanding multiplication as just writing the two variables next to each other. This will not work in programming because here it's going to be looking for a variable called xy, as opposed to here where I'm telling it to take the value of x, take the value of y, and multiply those two things together. That's where this asterisk comes into play. But here, just having this xy without the asterisk is going to tell the computer to look for a variable called xy, and it's going to tell me the name xy is not defined. So it has no way of knowing whether you want it to look for a variable called xy or multiply those two variables together. So that's why I emphasized very heavily, anytime you want to multiply any two things together, the asterisk must be there in order to accomplish that. So here, it is going to take the value of x, which is 3, and the value of y, which is 10, multiply those two numbers together to get a result of 30, and then that 30 will then go in the variable called the product, and then we print out what the value of the product is. So we get the result of 30 that we were in fact expecting. And another thing that will not work, in case you're ever tempted to try this, that won't work either. If you try doing this, you'll get this weird and lovely error message saying int object is not callable. There's no escaping this. Anytime you want to multiply any two things together, there's got to be an asterisk between said two things, those two things that you want multiplied together. Otherwise, it's not going to work. There's just no getting around it. So if you're getting error messages and you're trying to multiply things together, make sure the asterisk is in there somewhere or in between the two values that you do in fact want to multiply. Otherwise, the error message will stubbornly appear every time. There's just no getting around it. Division. There are actually 3 different division-related operators in Python's arsenal. So the first of which is just regular mathematical division. Make sure I disable this on line 22 first. So standard mathematical division utilizes just one instance of the / here. And again, order is kind of important, not just kind of important, but it is very important. So again, y is still 10, x is still 3. So, we're going to take the value of y, which is 10, and the value of x, which is 3, do 10 divided by 3 to get 3.3333333333333333333333. You get the idea. There's going to be a lot of 3's in there. So that's what's happening here on line 30. It's just doing standard mathematical division, and if we want to see what that result is, we want to see all the 3's. There's all the 3's. And you may be looking at this wondering, why in the world is there a 5 at the end there? That doesn't make any sense. This is usually inconsequential and something that you can ignore. This is just a consequence of how the computer's memory handles numbers that contain decimals in them. You'll occasionally see errant results like this, but it's completely normal to see something like this, and it's usually not cause for concern. Just something, if you see weird errant results like this, don't worry about it. It's probably nothing really to worry about. So that's standard mathematical division. The other division operator that we have demonstrated on line 31 involves a double /. So this will do the same thing that it did on line 30, except the end result will be an integer. So here it's going to do 10 divided by 3, and here instead of keeping everything after the decimal point, it's going to say screw all the 3's and cut anything off that appears after the decimal point. So, and a question I frequently get asked here is, will the computer round the result? The answer is no. Anything that appears after that decimal point will just be gone. It will not round up. It will by default be rounded down. So if we want to see what that result looks like, we can get to see that this is in fact equal to, so we do in fact see that we get the same result as before, just without any decimals or any digits that appear after the decimals. And to sort of verify the result that verify what I just said, you can see here I get 3.66666666, so on and so forth. But here it did not round up. It just simply took everything after the decimal point and just threw it into the river. So that's just something else you want to keep in mind when you use the double forward slash. It will not round up. It will in fact round everything down. Even if you get 3.9999, it will still round that down. And the third and final division-related operator is the modulus, which is denoted by the little percent sign here. So again, this will do mathematical division, but instead of the end result being the quotient, the modulus will make the end result being the remainder term. So if we take a look at the variables that we have here, we have 10 divided by 3. 3 goes into 10 3 times, and you have 1 left over. When you use the modulus, the end result of the operation will be the leftover part. So by doing value of y, which is 10 modulus 3, the remainder term of that division is going to be 1, because 3 goes into 10 3 times with 1 left over. And that result will then get stored in the left-hand side here, this variable called the modulus. So you can see how we do in fact get that result. We get the result of the remainder term of that division. So one thing that's kind of useful, something that you can get a lot of use out of with the modulus operator, is this can be a powerful tool for determining if, say, a number is divisible by another number. There are other uses, other specialized uses for the modulus operator, but that is one use that's probably most relevant. You can use the modulus operator to determine if one number is evenly divisible by the other, or maybe if you're interested in one number is not evenly divisible by the other. But we'll get more of an exposure to that in some later topics later on in the class. So I'll go ahead and disable those 3 print statements and then jump down to the exponential operator, or the process of raising one number to the power of the other. This one also can get kind of confusing because there's a bit of a difference in notation here. So in this, if you want to raise one value to the power of another, then you have to use the double asterisk here. So one asterisk means multiply these two numbers together. Double asterisk means take this number to the left of the double asterisk and raise it to the power of what's to the right of the double asterisk. So again, the value of y is 10, the value of x is 3. So this will calculate 10 raised to the power of 3, which would be 10 cubed, which should come out to be 1,000. And we do in fact get that result. And I see this mistake a lot. It's very tempting to try and use the little caret or hat symbol to denote one number being raised to the power of the other. But I will go ahead and tell you right now, if you use this symbol, you are going to be leading yourself into a dark forest full of confusion. And the reason why, I will demonstrate right now. If you try to use the caret symbol, you will get this instead of 1,000. I know, confusing as hell. So let's not use the caret symbol to raise one item to the power of another. Make sure you use the double asterisk so that you can avoid the dark forest full of confusion and avoid these really confusing results that the computer will give you. The caret symbol does do something that's kind of mathematical, but it's really weird and it's really painful to explain. So let's just not use the caret symbol and use the double asterisk to raise one number to the power of the other if we're programming in Python, which is what we're doing. And then sort of last on the list is the usage of parentheses. So if you want the computer to prioritize one particular operation over the other, then you can use parentheses to make the computer perform operations in the order that you want them to, or that you want it to. So again, I'll disable this old statement that we're done with. So here I'm using a set of parentheses to tell the computer I want the values of x and y added together to get that number before I multiply that result by y. So here I'm taking the value of x, which again is 3, and the value of y, which is 10. Adding those two numbers together will give me 13. And then I take this result, multiply it by y to get an end result that should come out to be 130. 13 times 10, which is 130. And if we want to verify the result, we can in fact see that it is in fact the number that gets put in the computer's memory. That is a number that goes into this variable called the calculation. So again, Python will automatically adhere to order of operations. So it will start with the innermost set of parentheses if you have a really long expression. It will start with the innermost set of parentheses, evaluate that first, and then follow the same priorities that you see in your math classes. So it will start with the innermost set of parentheses, then go to exponents, then multiplication, division, both have equal priority, and then addition and subtraction have equal priority, and those will be evaluated towards the end. And also a note on parentheses that's kind of important to keep in mind. If you want to have multiple sets of parentheses, say something like this, then you will put down multiple sets of parentheses. In some of your math classes, you might see something like this, using brackets to denote what order the parentheses should be evaluated in. This will not work in Python, or it may not work the way that you want it to. And also, you might also be tempted to use braces to do the same thing. Please don't do this, because this probably will not work the way you want it to. Brackets and braces do have a specific function in Python, but that's going to be something we worry about week 5 onward. We're not going to even worry about that. If you want to have multiple sets of parentheses, then you simply just have multiple sets of parentheses. So make sure you have using these parentheses, and make sure you're not using brackets or braces to sort of signify what order things should be evaluated in, because the computer is not going to see that the same way that you do. So just make sure that you're using parentheses to do this. But that's going to do it for this segment on mathematics in Python. And in the final segment, we will sort of talk about this in sort of a specialized case, but it also happens to be a very useful case. So with that, I will see you all in the next segment.